right here in this moment. I have a shout out. I'm lifting my loving cup to all the women in my life, all the women in the world who are doing their level best to be real, to talk about what's really going on in their lives, because let's face it, it's not always the easiest thing to do. I'm Elaine Albert. This is Journey Back to Joy. Welcome to my show. In the last episode, and you may want to go back and watch that, I began to talk about a really important framework for, I would say, all of the work that I do, which is the heroine's journey. And last time we talked about the various stages of that. I have revised Joseph Campbell's hero's journey to work for those of us as women who have been through a lot, who are going through a lot, and are looking for a way through, not a way to ignore what's happening, but actually to face it, to learn what to do when we're in the middle of that 7 times down and going for that 8 times up. You know what I'm talking about? When life can get to be pretty funky, like it is in the world today, and in our personal lives, it's complicated by all that's going on in the pandemic. It's complicated by the kinds of relationships that we have and the ones that we've lost and the people that are in our lives and the ones who haven't made it through the pandemic for one reason or another. So I wanted today to talk about more about that heroine's journey and to talk about what it means to be real and what it is that we can do when we're feeling broken down. Because I want to say that in my own journey back to joy, I felt so, I'm sure you can understand, I felt so completely broken down when I lost my son in 2004. And I thought that there wasn't, inside of me somewhere, I knew there was a way to get back up, but there were days and there were certainly many, many moments when I doubted that that was the possibility. That loss was the beginning of a number of losses and setbacks in my own life. And I not only used the work that I had been teaching for many years, but I began to gather together a new framework that would hold all of the sticky stuff that I was going through and help me and my family navigate through those really intense times. I did it piecemeal. I got to a point and I realized, wow, I need this right now. I need that right now. And I went searching and studying and doing lots of trainings and creating trainings and developing tools so that I could actually help myself and my family get through what we were going through. And of course, that extended to my larger community because they were deeply affected by what was happening. So in this show, I hope to bring that to you in a way that is digestible and easy to hear, and that you walk away with some real tools. I want to say that next week, I'm going to be having my first guest on, Kimberly Constantine. This is a woman who is going to share with you her bold journey back to joy. And when I say that she's been through some stuff, oh my goodness. And you're going to get to meet an extraordinary woman who is not trying to be a hero. She's not trying to do things in an unreal, inauthentic way. In fact, she's been very real about the nature of her struggle. And she's been willing to get in there and wrestle with the hard stuff. So that's what I talk about when I say, here to all the women who are going through things, who have been through things. And even though you have had times where you've tried to sweep it under the rug, ignore it, numb it out, press it away, I totally get that. I've done all those things. But you keep coming back for that 8 times up. You won't let that broken down stay in place too long because you've got a purpose. And that's what I want to talk about in part today, is that when we don't know our deepest why for continuing on through whatever it is that we're facing, it gets really, really confusing. And we've lost our roadmap because, the world is going to give us lots of their ideas. The media is going to give us ideas about what we should be doing and how, and you get 1,000 articles and emails about pull your life together in this way and that way. But what I have found over my 30 years of working with men and women is that it all comes down to some real solid basics. And we don't need to be fooled by get over this quick or push through it or learn how to manage your life so that everything can be all sparkly. No, it's not really about that. For women on a conscious healing path, you're wanting something more. You're wanting something deeper and more real and more connected. And I get that because that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted to be with people that have a voice or working on finding a voice or admitting when they've lost it. I wanted to be with women who, they come to some vulnerable moments and there's a part of them that doesn't want to go there. They just, push back and put up the walls, but then they find a way. They find a way to dismantle the wall and to let someone in or several someones in to their lives in a way that can really support them. What I ended up doing after all those years of going through so many things and pulling stuff together for myself and my family, I put it together for a community of women because I wanted to draw around me women that have been through a lot and are going through a lot and want to be down to earth about what's happening. So this whole thing called purpose, God, we hear about it all the time, don't we? And of course you've got purposes because all you have to do, it really is look at your life and you'll see the purposes that you have. You might find there are purposes that you have around family or your money or your health. And in some categories, as I begin to bring some of that up, there may be some chagrin because you haven't met the purpose there in the way that you really want to. Well, welcome to the human race, right? Because we're all working in stages on the kinds of agreements and disciplines that we have set up for ourselves. And sometimes we're just really fall off. We're just off the path and someone comes along and says, hey, how about getting on this detox like I'm about to do this week? Or sometimes somebody comes along and says, our relationship is not what I wanted it to be. Is there another way through here, in so many words? Or perhaps you're that person who's offering that to someone else. So our purpose, it is in fact kind of the next step on that journey back to joy. So just as a reminder, that first step is the call. There's a call, and I identified that in the last episode as life shocks, life shock moments, a moment in time in which something happens that you don't expect or you don't want. And then lots of times with those things, we have a big fat no, I don't want that. I didn't ask for that. Why is this showing up in my life? My God, haven't I been through enough? Why is this happening to this other person? I don't want to accept that. Just a big fat no to what is happening. Reality is coming to you over and over again through your 5 senses. You're getting life shocks and you're saying, no, I don't want it. Been there? Maybe you're finding yourself today in that very spot of, I just don't want it. And of course, it's your prerogative to anytime say, no, not now. No, I don't want to deal with it. And as a woman on a healing path, I'm sure you've done it many times. But at some point, you'll meet someone. You'll meet someone in your life who calls you out, who knocks on the walls of that box that you're in and says, come on out and play. And you get an opportunity to come out and see what more may be on offer for you. Yes? Then, once you're doing that, you have an opportunity at hand. It's like you get a chance to say and decide, at a very, very deep level, do I want to stay broken down the way I'm feeling, the way I've got my life sized up, the way I've got other people sized up, how the world is a certain way and I'm just resigned to it all? Do you want to stay there, or do you want to go for something else? Okay. So there's that major decision and it is a turning point in every woman's life. You may be faced with many of them, as I have been. But of course, that turning point for me, after I lost my son and was going through times and times of grieving and grieving and grieving, eventually, at some point, I got there. I got to this place where I looked at it all and I said, am I going to be broken down forever by this? Is this the way my life is going to go from here on out? Or is there something more for me? Am I really, really ready to go for that? Of course, I could see at the horizon line that there was much more for me. In fact, I had several people calling me out to do various things. I'll tell you a quick story about something that happened, because at the time when my son died, and then my husband had cancer, and then the recession began, and my husband was a home builder, and everything that entailed, it all came within a very short amount of time. And I had already stepped back from leading international trainings, personal development trainings, where I was leading other people through their difficult times. I stepped back from all of that because I just couldn't do it. I couldn't find a way to stand in front of a group of people with everything going on in my life and to be struggling at the level that I was struggling at the time. I was in and out of the struggle. Yes, in and out of the struggle. And I had flown to Portland with my family. We were on a little getaway. And when I got back in town on a Saturday night, woke up on Sunday morning, I got this phone call. And the phone call said, the message said, Elaine, would you get in the car today and would you drive to Huntsville, Alabama and finish leading this training that's going on, because the current trainer is sick. She's been throwing up in the back of the room. We need you. You're 4 or 5 hours away. We need you to come today and lead the rest of this training. So it had already been going on since Friday night. This is now Sunday morning. And they were asking me, who had not been in a training room in 3 years, to step into the mix. And there actually was nothing in me that wanted to do that. I was completely in a no, I don't want to do that. I don't think I can do that. I haven't been in that flow for all this time. There's way too much going on in my life. How can I possibly do this? And I know at this point in my life, this is 2007, I believe. I know at this point in my life that my first reaction is not necessarily the one to follow. That is my mind talk going on. And so I sat down, closed my eyes, got really still, really quiet. And I went in and I said, what is mine to do? What is mine to do here in this moment? And I listened. And bunch of mind talk going on in there, all the stuff my mind was saying I should do and have to do and can't do and everything else. But as that settled down and I stayed with it, I heard go. It was not what I wanted to hear, but I clearly heard go. So it was a bit of a complex situation because they were going to stop the training while my friend was sick, who was training, and let the group do another thing. And then they were going to wait for me to get there. So not only did I need to step into, was I being called actually to step into something that had been going on since Friday, and they were all kind of in love with her as the trainer. And now I'm going to show up, this brand new person, into the middle of a very deep transformational training and try to lead it through the last bit of it. So I got on the phone with someone who had years more experience than me, and he talked me through some ideas about what I could do. And we worked out a step plan to get the group through this bit of a crisis time and to work with the volunteer staff that was present and all that good stuff. So I drove to Huntsville, showed up a number of hours later, walked into the room, took a deep breath, and called on all the powerful forces to support me because I was not about to do this by myself. And on that drive there, I really wrestled with, why am I doing this? Other than my inner wisdom said, go. Why am I doing this? What's my deep purpose for showing up? So back and forth I went on that drive. What is strong enough to be pulling me towards this? What is strong enough to have me 8 times up and stand in front of this room and them not knowing me not knowing anything about them, and help them through this last part of this very intensive training? And I reached inside, and I just thought, because it's my deep love, because I want to support my friend who just is so sick she can't finish. I could feel the support staff and the people that were there. And I let myself feel the richness of what this experience could be, but not only for them, for me. What could it be like for me to step into that situation and turn my abilities and my skills over into this situation, and not knowing what's going to happen, just the great unknown, right? Like opening it up and just saying, okay, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to let go of that agenda and I'm going to surrender into this moment. And I think when I got that there was something really big on offer for me and for the other people present to be willing and open to stepping into the unknown like that, that it would be a beautiful exercise for me in trust, trusting the moment as they unfold, trusting the group, trusting myself, and not having to have it all figured out. So showed up in Huntsville, well, shaky knees, but, taking some deep breaths and walking into that moment. And we had an amazing time together. I kept with my purpose inside, that there's something here and there's something rich and there's something real. And if I open the space for people to be real about what they are here for, and I don't try to sweep any of my stuff going on in my life under the rug, but I'm just as real as well, that something magical could occur. And that's exactly what happened. It was like, I don't know how to describe that. I bet you know what I'm talking about. But when you let go of that driver that says it's going to be like this and you need to be like that, that all of a sudden, when you're outside of that box, something starts playing with you, you start playing with it, and this dance begins. And I began to really enjoy being with the people who were there and enjoying being in that role that I was in, but also being 100% myself. It was quite kind of being thrown into the deep end for the first time in a long time. And I wonder, where have you been called to a deeper dive? Where have you been called to a deeper dive? Because if you're going to take that deeper dive in your life and really get down into what's really going on for you, you need a purpose. You need a bigger why. And of course, you know about the big why, but we all need to be reminded of that over and over again. I've been teaching about why and all of that for years, and I still needed in that drive to get to Huntsville, to get back in touch with what that is for me in this moment. So you may be going through something right now and you've been aware of purpose. Maybe you are looking for a bigger purpose to keep forging ahead, to keep coming to your eighth time up. What I want to suggest is that you're never not going to know what's coming. And so if you're on the path of being a spiritual warrior, this is always called for. This deeper dive is called for. And there's really not a way to escape it. Because if you're asleep and you have your eyes are blinded to personal development, your own growth, your transformation, what you're doing on the planet, why you came into this lifetime to start with, if you're like clueless about all that stuff, you're not going to be so concerned about the deeper dive. But if you're here and listening to this, maybe it's opening a door to that. Maybe you know this subject very, very well. And maybe you're hearing it today because you're being called to another deep dive. I find that this deeper dive is some of the richest times of my life. Some of the richest times of my life. And what I do in my own programs and in my work with women is invite them into finding a purpose big enough to be willing to go into that deeper dive, to go into the cave, as Joseph Campbell called it. He had a famous saying that you may know: the treasure you seek is right at that cave. It's right. That fear of going into the cave, that treasure you seek is right in there. The gems that you're looking for in your life are inside that deeper dive. Why do I say that? Because that's the place where we get to more deeply connect with ourselves. When we've lost our way and we're like, what is all of this about? And I'm not sure. Just the ground is shaking, right? And we find that deeper purpose for ourselves and we decide to go into that cave because it's calling us as a spiritual warrior to find out what that's all about. Now, Joseph Campbell knew all about this cave because he looked at all of the myths and legends around the world when someone is thrust into the midst of a lot of challenge, so many tests and so many temptations and so many challenges. And he said, there's something there for you. So going into that cave, it is an opportunity available to you at any moment. And here's what I want to say. Developing your deepest why starts with that broken down or broken open moment. Once you decide, hey, you know what? I don't want to live over there in the broken down all the time. I want something more for myself. And you open up to that possibility of broken open. You've taken a major, major step. And then you can begin looking for that purpose to go into the cave. But you're not going to last in that cave unless you have that purpose. If I hadn't had mine in place that day I drove to Huntsville, I think I could have quaked in my boots, like the shaky knees would have turned into a lot more and could have spilled out into the group as well. And we likely wouldn't have had the amazing interactions that we had and the openings and the transformation that occurred by the end of that training, had I not been holding that space inside myself that this was possible. So broken open, what in the world does that mean? Well, in my view, it means that we are allowing ourselves to be touched by life itself. Instead of pushing it away, instead of trying to manage our lives, because so many of us are so good at that. We manage lots of things, for some of us, we manage people, we manage a job, we manage the family, we manage. But sometimes the great manager inside needs to step back a little bit and let something else come through. Imagine that. If you had that big manager inside, be willing to step back and allow something in you to open up and say yes to what is happening. Not meaning, I love it, so glad it's happening, yay, yay, yay. Not that, but yes, this is happening. I get it, and I'm willing to meet it. I don't know what that looks like, scares me shitless, but I'm willing to meet what is happening. And I'm not going to do it alone. It's a key point here, because when you go into the cave, you need helpers. You need people there ready to support you through that and with that. And what does that look like in your life? Do you have that kind of support? Or is it something that you want to cultivate? Sometimes we as women don't talk about what's really going on because we don't have the people around us or the context around us that feels safe enough to speak up and talk about what's really happening. It is exactly why I created my Deeper Stream program. Deeper Stream. It's an opportunity for women to step into a container that's being held by me, but by everyone else as well, to be able to say what it is that you have to say and to learn some tools and go through some experiences together that allow you to enter that cave in a way that gets underneath you and helps you find out what broken open really feels like. Because I just want to suggest that when I'm in that broken open place, and when I see other women in that broken open place, what I notice is this incredible aliveness and this deep humility. This deep humility, it's a place of surrender. And I don't know the right way to go exactly, and I don't know what's coming, and I don't know. I call it the sacred don't know in life, the sacred don't know. And when you're standing in that place in life, it is a beautiful thing to have really intelligent, compassionate women to be standing alongside you. And you alongside them. I have watched just juicy, incredible synchronicities, just all kinds of really great stuff occur for women because they're in a context that can support what it is they're looking for. So if you are a woman who just is yearning for that, that kind of, excuse me, I'll take a drink from my cup. Shout out to all of you once again, going for that spiritual warriorhood in your own life. I just want to meet you, to talk with you, to see if Deeper Stream is a place for you to be. That's how I go through deciding like how and who and what comes into a Deeper Stream group. I actually have a real conversation with each person. So if that's of interest to you, you can email me at elaine@elainealpert.com. And I will respond to you, and we can set up a time to have a chat about what that program is. And yeah, just come together, and love to hear about your life and what you're facing right now, and what matters most to you, and what you're wanting to, where you're wanting to grow in your life. All right. Bye for now. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you back next week with Kimberly Constantine for an amazing interview. All right. Till next time.